Yeah, that's our color.
Sexy
very
blue?
sexy blue. Is that what you call it?
Sexy blue?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it comes only in that variation, so you have to pay more to have it in blue. Oh, sorry, black.
In black,
I
yeah.
see.
Yeah, this is, oh, you can get it in black if you want to pay more. No, it only comes in sexy blue. Okay, so tell us what this thing does.
Well, this is a super cool PTZ controller, which is very, very flexible. It works great with PTZOptics cameras. It has OLED displays. That means that all the buttons explain themselves by just looking at the labels. And you can imagine how important it is to have those OLED legends labels if you want to configure your interface to be very, custom. For instance, these would, if you look at those buttons, you might think
muted,
this is a camera selector for 6 cameras, but it doesn't have to. It could be 3 cameras if you only have 3, and then you could have the remaining 3 buttons available for preset recall and so on. It's really super configurable, but it also comes with a preset that makes it work out of the box with a PTZOptics camera.
Now, I've seen the bigger joystick and I've used it. I haven't used this one. We'll talk about the bigger one in a second. So let's say I select camera 1.
Yeah.
What happens here?
Well, then these buttons,
knobs.
the encoders, the knobs, will show values from camera number 1, the one you just picked. Yes, and if you are deep into streaming and broadcasting, you may want to adjust shutter speeds and iris and white balance for your cameras. You may also want to just go auto, and that's fine, but this controller is really cool in that you have so fine-grained control of all the settings in your camera. So if you become more critical towards using all those settings and tweaking them, you can break them out on those buttons.
I love it.
Yeah.
So when you select a camera, these values change specific to the camera, and you can adjust the white balance, the shutter speed, and that's one of my favorite features of the joysticks, because they give you a physical representation of where the iris is. Exactly. What is the white balance? Where is the shutter speed? So as especially if you're streaming outdoors, let's say on a football game or an all-day concert, the lighting changes all day long.
Yeah.
And the cameras need to be adjusted. The shutter speed, the aperture.
Exactly.
Our users love that about this.
Everyone loves this thing.
Yeah, and
I'm telling you.
I was just talking to Jim, who produces the show here, and he confessed to me, I hope this is okay, Jim, that one of his favorite features was that you can actually select 2 cameras at a time.
Yes.
So for those users who want to have a range of PTZ cameras instantly adjusted with the same white balance or the same shutter speed, you just press and hold the keys to select multiple cameras, and you can push that setting out to them. So that's really efficient.
Yeah, that's great for us.
Does that work here
so
too?
They all look the same.
Yeah, on that one, yeah.
Even on the little one.
Wow.
Well, that's really, it's the same software running on this one. This is just as powerful as the PTZ Pro we have over here. This is called PTZ Fly. It's just as powerful. It's just a matter of the buttons. And personally, I'm really in love with the simplicity of this one. But what I also love so much is that you can really go deep. The way we have this configured for display in our booth shows you that with a single button, you can toggle between preset recall and camera selection. You can page forth and back in your the number of presets you've got, and then you can cycle through multiple menu options on the upper encoders. That's just so amazing. And the reason why is because these buttons are what we call 4-way buttons. It's a novel invention that we have made, meaning that the button can be or can detect the press on either edge. So when you push the button,
so
on the
you can
lower
do different things depending on the angles of the buttons.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Okay. So these buttons, being a camera selector, I press the lower edge of the button, and it becomes a preset selector.
I didn't know
Toggle
that.
forth and back. I press the sides of the buttons, and it will page through presets 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and so forth. And when you press the upper edge, you cycle through menu options. That's really super powerful in a single button.
Wow, I have a question for you already coming from the chat.
All right.
Christopher says, ask about the difference in the upgrade Hall effect joystick option versus the standard, and does the Fly have the 4-way buttons?
The Fly has the 4-way buttons, yes. And the differences in the Hall effect joystick and this one.
Yes.
We have been working crazily busy to make this, to bring this out for NAB, including with the Hall effect joystick. So in our booth we have the Hall effect joystick, but truth be told, I haven't actually sat down and just with a nice drink or cup of coffee, and just tried the two up against each other. So the Hall effect option was definitely a good choice based on customer feedback. We have, we are developing our products with a handful of select customers who provide us with
a great way.
feedback in terms of where to go, what to prioritize. So the Hall effect option, I would say it's the better feel, but this one is the standard joystick is also really good.
I like the simplicity of it as well.
So, but I would have to, go back and do more like, sit down Sunday afternoon and just, see if I can.
Now, this device, I want to just make very clear, is an IP joystick.
I was going to say, how is that connected to our cameras? Ethernet?
Right, right, yeah.
Okay.
Single
Now,
cable.
I'm seeing a power cable as well. Is it possible to be PoE?
It is. It's standard, actually.
Oh, so it's standard PoE. You have
so
a
this
backup power supply?
Well, not everybody has a PoE switch. So
Great
we have to.
point.
There's PoE by default. This is new, I would have to say. So if up until April 2015, sorry, 18, sorry, PoE has been an option that you had to request. Now it's standard in all the controllers. The DC plug is for cases where you don't have PoE, but we love PoE so much, and it simplifies the booth design at NAB, for instance.
So Taz, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but see these side buttons here? Do you know what they do?
Is it for multiple cameras?
It's pretty cool. It's kind of mind-blowing. So
Yeah.
essentially, you can stack up multiples, and they connect together. So you could connect, like maybe he'll show a picture.
So if you have multiple of these devices, oh wow!
You
Can we
see this
show this,
picture?
Jim?
Wow, they're like a puzzle. And by the way, these
yeah.
little booklets are really clever.
Oh God, I love the little
Thank
book.
you.
I mean, this gives you a
Thank you.
great overall
It
idea
does.
of the product line.
So that's a close-up
What
look
is the name
of these
again? I'm
together.
sure of this device.
That's the PTZ Fly.
PTZ Fly.
Yeah.
That's a cute little name there.
So you could stack this unit with the Live Fly,
That's true.
and then have a really customized button system as well.
Yes, well, the Live Fly is made for live switching. So if you want to combine the PTZ Fly and the Live Fly together, it's probably because you have a switcher system and you have joystick control on the other side. And for that, actually, we brought those two products together into a single 2-unit rack device that sits really well on the table. So it's using the same extrusion. And it also sits really well in the rack or in a flyaway kit. So these controllers are made for compact production.
And as your system grows and your budget grows, maybe your controller can grow as well.
Yeah, so actually the modularity you're referring to, the fact that we can stack modules together, gives you the opportunity, in terms of investment, you can start out by one thing and then add. But it also gives you an opportunity to have the same gear involved in larger productions and smaller productions, because you can just, you can bring more modules. And I wouldn't say the Live Fly would be the most, if the Live Fly you referred to would be for controlling a switcher, but imagine this, if you prefer to have 48 preset recalls broken out on individual buttons, you could purchase one of the, we call them Crosspoint, I think it's Crosspoint 48 or 24. Then the 24 fits in this series. It has 24 buttons.
Let's show a picture of it.
Yeah.
Christopher says if you guys check out Skaarhoj's YouTube videos, you'll drool over everything Casper's doing.
So it's Crosspoint 24 and it's right there, okay? So you have 24 elastomer buttons. These are actually 4-way buttons. But anyway, 24 buttons, OLED displays that will tell you the label for the preset. That's one thing we should discuss. And hooking it up, connecting it as a module to the PTZ Fly would allow you to have distinct buttons for preset recall and keeping the 6 buttons over here reserved for camera selection.
Very nice. So are we getting some questions in the chat room, or should we be...
Well, I was just reading to you guys how Christopher says if you watch their YouTube videos, you'll drool.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Christopher. That's a funny one.
There's been a lot of buzz in our chat room lately about your controllers.
Yeah, everyone's always asking about them.
Yeah,
They really work great. We're using them now.
We're using them now for every day of NAB show. And perhaps we should show that unit and exactly how we're using that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one I'm more used to because this is the one we're using in our studio now.
Lucky us.
Very happy to have this. This one seems to be really, I don't know if we can show this one up full screen as well. but this one seems to be built for camera control. Can you point out some of those buttons and explain what they do?
Yes. Are we waiting for the close-up?
It's on. It's on.
Okay.
That's the close-up there.
Very good. So, okay, there we go. Now,
let's just point to each button.
Yes. Okay. So the way we set it up for you was that this is the camera selector. So we have 10 numbered buttons for selecting cameras. And then we assigned the lower buttons down here to be preset recalled. And one of the latest features we added in software, and notice this, added in software, I mean, these controllers are going to grow. We are adding features. I can't tell you about them, or I would have to kill you, you know? So is that secret?
All right.
No.
Not me.
We need to kill him first before we... I'm a blabbermouth. If you tell me it's
okay,
gone.
I'll just keep it to myself. But but what we just did was to put labels in those OLED displays for preset recall on the lower row of buttons, which means that you just transcend behind preset number 5. It will say Paul, close up, and stuff like that. Yeah. Over here we have the menu. These buttons are labeled to indicate that you have exposure mode, access to exposure mode parameters, access to white balance parameters, and so forth. So on the PTZ Pro, because we have people asking, what's the difference between this one and this one? You say in software they can do the same. That's true. You just have fewer buttons over here. So there you have it broken out that you have direct access to exposure mode, white balance, color, image settings. On the PTZ Fly, you had to cycle through by pressing the up edge of the shift key. So it's a matter of taste. Do you want that direct access? You have more buttons on this one. If you want to go smaller, more compact, you use this one. You can do this.
I thought it was so cool yesterday how it just said Paul, Tess. That was really cool.
Really helped. The other thing I really love about this joystick,
I just want to give you credit because I was watching one of your videos and I saw you discuss presets and how to record them by numbers, and I just sat there and said, just going to give Paul something in his hand that makes this easier, because I'm a PTZ operator in the past as well, so I just instantly recognized the need for having labeled presets.
Yes.
So we brought it to you.
Thank you. And so you actually are an operator. Let me just show one more thing about this that I love, and Jim can testify to this. This is something that we've been playing around with, is that as you change the camera select, these buttons, these exposure white balances, are what you end up using with these knobs. So I love it because we can now say, all right, camera 1, what is our exposure? What is our white balance? Okay, let's just tweak it a little bit. Camera 2, what is our white balance? What is our exposure?
Sure.
And just quickly go back and forth right in front of you.
How does that work? Does it bring up it accesses our camera menus somehow?
Yes.
We do, yeah.
Over IP?
Well, yes. You have VSCO over IP, so it's basically pulling information out of your camera. No.
Yep, they sneak in, they query the camera.
I think we have permission to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we might have to talk to you about how much permission. You're getting really in there.
I see it's power over Ethernet and IP control. But what are these?
Yeah, what are these? Here, let's show. What is this?
Yeah, it's an option we put in because recently Blackmagic Design
SDI.
finally did something they had been hinting at for 2 years when they brought out the Micro Studio camera, which would go very well on your PD broadcaster head. When they brought out that camera, they had a breakout cable and a port that indicated they would have PTZ control via RS422 at some point. That point was 2 years later, November 2017. So when they finally did it, it made so much sense to integrate an SDI port that would allow us to send that kind of data back to the Blackmagic Micro Studio camera sitting on, for instance, your PD broadcaster head. Because this is basically just an alternative way of getting the VSCO command sent over to a PT head.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. So we're just loving this thing. Jim mentioned a little earlier how you could actually hold down 2 cameras and change the VSCO over IP settings at the same time. Just really cool stuff.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions. Do you want to discuss any price points?
Yeah, sure, no problem. This is $2,000. This is $1,400.
Great. Easy enough. Sometimes that can be a sore spot with people. They don't like to talk about it live, so I try and ease into that discussion.
I don't, but you know what? if you go to our booth, we put the prices on the booth, and that helps engineers like me who just
That's
like
what we're
talking about
doing now.
prices. So nobody asks about the price because it's right up
It's
in
right
their face.
there,
So
yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
cool. And it's in our brochure too, so if you go online and you pick up our brochures as a PDF, you see all the prices there. And when we get home, we'll also make some product pages, but we didn't manage.
So we're working
Fine.
on the PT broadcaster as well, and some very exciting stuff there. Made in Denmark.
It is, yeah.
Congratulations.
Scandinavian design.
Scandinavian
Quality,
design, very high
engineering.
quality. And they're adding to the software, it's actively being developed on. So it pretty much supports every PTZOptics
So the device you already
command at this
have
point.
Yeah.
can grow in feature richness.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
device
yeah.
you already have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I mean, it even bridges behind cameras. So if you have people having multiple brands in their PTZ camera lineup, that might be for historical reasons or whatever, this controller will help them to mix and mix camera brands together in a production. They wouldn't have to have two separate controllers for that.
Yeah.
So that's also helpful if, for instance, people want to move towards PTZOptics cameras, but they have a few, like a Panasonic camera or
right.
something, which is still valuable to them in some way.
Yes.
It's possible to do it.
Color matching would be a little bit easier too.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
that
you
as
have
well.
access to that
Yeah.
as well. It is a special use case though. So what we prefer is, of course, to have the same set of cameras. I mean, that feature, by sending out the same data, would require it's the same camera, because the thing is that we know the shutter speed range you have in your cameras. That would be different for Panasonic camera. So obviously, to adjust shutter speed, we would have to only group PTZOptics cameras together in order to throw out that value to all of them.
Yeah. And I love the responsiveness. That's one thing we haven't talked
Yeah,
about
John
yet.
is asking about latency in here. So.
Okay, let me put it this way. We had someone coming to our booth with arms like this. We come up from the PTZOptics booth. We don't believe your joystick is gonna make a smooth move with this camera. And then I was like, I'm really sorry, because we have other brands in our booth too, so I couldn't just show them the joystick on any of these models controlling your camera in that case. That was another joystick and not the one they wanted to benchmark.
Oh.
So I was like, yeah, I can't do it, I'm sorry guys, and so on. And then I did something which is completely unheard of at show, beginning to change settings in flight. You just don't do that, right? Because it might be super embarrassing and so on. But I thought, okay, I had time, nobody else was waiting in line, so I brought up my laptop, connected the USB plug, and then I just gave them a little crash course on how you set up the joystick on the PTZ Fly to work with the PTZOptics. And it just worked in the first attempt, and then I left it over to them to work with it. And I would say they shook my hands really, thank you so much, and you know what that means. I mean, they were really happy to see how smooth they could
They were
operate.
weary
smooth.
about it, and then they were able to see.
That. I've been
Yeah.
using this
Oh,
controller,
Jim is confirming.
and it is probably the smoothest. I can actually do live camera moves with this, which I can't
Wow.
with anything else.
Jim from the DVS Direct store is telling us
Yeah.
that he can attest to what Casper's saying.
Yeah, I think he
that
even
he
turned the
thinks
mic
it's one
on.
of the smoothest controllers he's used.
It
'Cause he's
really
been producing
is.
for us every day,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that means a lot.
So I wouldn't go as far as saying that we are 100 or 10% there or anything, but because when I looked at the eyes of one of my developers, he was more like, yeah, we can actually do a little better probably. So we think there's still more tweaking to do, but it's pretty cool that people already find that this is
It's
the
really good.
best experience they've had.
It is it's probably the best I've seen, I'll be honest. I've seen a lot. I've seen them all, I think. All the ones that work with our cameras, I think I've had my hands on. The Visca over IP, it's just super smooth. There's no latency. It's the lowest latency that I've seen.
So Alex is asking back to the SDI and the Blackmagic. Do you need the Arduino SDI add-on, or sorry, I'm trying to read this.
Arduino?
Add-on, or do you use SDI out of an ATEM to a Blackmagic Studio?
You can, okay, so let me rephrase how I understood the question. The question was whether we can control the Blackmagic Studio camera and the PT broadcaster head from the SDI out or via an ATEM switcher and the Ethernet out. And the answer is both.
Okay.
Yeah, so both is possible.
So where can people find these products if they want to go purchase them?
They can always go to our website. We ship worldwide. they can also go to our list of distributors or basically resellers that would be listed for every country if they go to our website. That's also an opportunity.
Skaarhoj.com?
Yes, that is.
Put it in the chat.
So
DVS Direct as well.
yes.
Oh, or DVS Direct.
Our TriCaster operator today, Jim Davis.
So
I missed
I
out.
don't think it's. If you can Google our website, it will be easy to find out how you can, purchase the products.
Definitely. Wonderful product here. So amazing. The PTZ Pro and the PTZ Fly. Is there anything else you want to talk about while we have you? You want to explain the cores? So these are IP devices. So they get an IP address. You have to log into them over a web browser and then configure them.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, exactly. And this is something people will quickly become accustomed to when they realize the power of the labeled presets, for instance, that relies on having a web browser where you access the web interface of the controller, and you have like a matrix of fields. You have a row of labels for the presets for camera 1, labels for camera 2 preset recall, and then you just edit, save, and that's the same page where all the configuration is. Now, I do want to say that our controllers ship from the factory with a good default configuration. So while this does control other brands as well, if you want to use it with a PTZOptics camera, you just select the profile for PTZOptics. All you need to do in addition to that is to make sure the IP addresses are right. Okay, that's important. We don't have like auto discovery, but so you need to give this one an IP address which is not already taken on the network. You need to know the IP address of your PTZOptics camera, the first one, and then the consecutive IP addresses will be automatically detected and show up on the camera.
Start a Google Doc for yourself.
So it's web configurable, yeah.
Very nice. Yes, it's totally web configurable. People are used to that now. It's not a new thing.
No.
It's set up via DHCP.
Yeah, it can. DHCP for IP address selection
by default
from the controller.
And then you can set a static IP address as well.
Yes, but at the moment we do not have a way to automatically detect the IP address of your cameras on the network. I'm not saying that.
Nice.
Yes, and I want to get back home and look at that. So we are not like against it from a.
Yeah, and that would be a nice feature.
Standpoint.
That's something that vMix and the TriCaster are doing now.
Yes.
Right now, when you connect to a camera, it'll automatically populate the IP address in there. So that it's definitely possible.
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up. So it's, like you said, you're probably 95%. And that last 5% is just probably going to come from user feedback, conversations like this. I can't recommend it enough, and I can't wait for Michael to have the little buttons for him.
He likes his controller.
Because he loves it, and that way, we have 6 or 7 cameras in our studio, so this is just perfect for those small studios.
Devin says, I use Skaarhoj with PTZOptics and Blackmagic. Works amazing, single button controls and everything. Thanks.
It's good. It's really
How
good
many
quality
cameras
stuff.
can you attach to this controller?
Now, 56.
Oh.
Because
you made it seem like you're going to say like 4 or something.
I see 10 here.
Yeah, you see 10. You also see up and down buttons, so there's a way to page.
Okay.
Now, Paul, will you ship me like 20 cameras for my studio? Because then I can, make a video demonstrating it. But the thing is that I do not have that many cameras available for development.
Who does?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, but I have had so many people. I mean, there seems to be
we might actually
customers for, who manages like up to 100 PTZ or even more PTZ cameras. But we have had people coming and asking for 60 PTZ cameras in some kind of
it happens.
live show or reality program and so on.
Yeah, like reality TV with every room.
Yeah.
Every room
or
has 3.
something.
Something crazy.
So from a technical point of view, the way we do it is we use. So the reason why it's 56 is 8 by 7. I hope it's right, 56. Yeah. So it's because on a Visca chain there's typically 7 cameras on the chain, and then we can have 8 such chains, and then each of these 7 cameras would have to be consecutive IP addresses. So whenever we are pointed to the first camera, we automatically ask, is there a camera on the next IP? And then we populate up to those 7, and we can do that 8 times. So in that sense, it can.
Wow. And I think that's really smart to have consecutive IP addresses just in general, just to keep things organized.
Yeah.
Is the PTZ Fly available now?
We have an 11% NAB show discount, but that's for delivery in June, because we expect our production, since this is super new, to be up and running full in June. So, and that's required for the discount. If you want delivery before that in May, we can also work with that, but then you can't have the discount. Right. So that's basically because we would probably have to stay a little later at the office to make that happen.
Right.
That's like $200 off, so that's pretty
great.
good.
Yeah. Well, Casper, it was great to have you on and to kind of get some FaceTime with you here. Yeah. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Casper.
Very much.
All right, guys, we're just about to do the giveaway.
All right, we're going to do the giveaway, so hold on, everybody. We're going to go pull our Gleam giveaway. We're going to roll the credits real quick to give us a second, and then we'll roll some B-roll after that.
One of these days for the giveaway.
I'm sure Casper will do a giveaway soon. All right, I'll pull up a
Casper,
Gleam.
That was great. People were really buzzing about that product, so that was really good.
Jonathan Muriela's. Jonathan Muriela's. Yeah.
It really has added a lot, I think, for us to have it just back and forth, and somebody that you hit it off with.
Exactly. Well, mine are more technical most of the time, but there are some which is also.
So I guess.